Hey everyone, welcome back for another video. Today we will be ranking the films of Wolfgang Petersen. So this is a bit more of an unknown director, even though he's made some pretty popular films. No one really knows him by name. Haven't seen too many videos on his entire filmography on YouTube and things like that. And I just recently kind of went through most of his films. I'd already seen Troy and The Perfect Storm and Neverending Story when I was a kid and stuff. So I kind of was interested to check out the rest of his filmography and also revisit a few that I hadn't seen in a long time. So yeah, he's got 11 feature films that I've seen. That's from Das Boot all the way to Four Against the Bank, which is his final film. So yeah, we're going to rank all 11. He is a German director, so he started out making German films, and Das Boot was his first big kind of breakout movie before coming to Hollywood and making a whole bunch of films there, and then ending his career with another German film, which was Four Against the Bank. So now I've seen all 11 of them. We can rank them and see where they fit. So first up, we have The Neverending Story. So this is a pretty classic kind of film, and this is the first movie he made coming over to America after Das Boot. And this is a movie I remember seeing vaguely as a kid. I didn't remember too much about it, but my son has recently been watching it a lot at my parents' place. And so I thought, while I'm doing this guy's filmography, I'll watch the movie with him. And I actually really enjoyed it. Like, I'd forgotten a lot about the film. I obviously remembered big things like the Luck Dragon and things like that. But the film overall just has a really cool kind of 80s fantasy vibe, like those films like Ladyhawke and Legend and Dark Crystal and all that, where it's just all the big interesting characters and creatures and puppets and things like that. But this film, I think, is probably one of the better ones that does it really well. It has a really interesting story, great characters, great music, and emotions and things like that. I think I was really enjoying it, but the only thing that let it down for me slightly was the ending. It just seemed to kind of peter out a little bit at the end rather than kind of be a big build up to a really cool ending. It kind of just ended. But overall, I really enjoyed the movie quite a lot more than I even thought I was going to. So I'll put it up in the A tier because it's definitely one of his better films. Next we have Outbreak. This came out in the mid-90s, and I believe I've seen this a long time ago, or parts of it a long time ago, but I thought, anyway, I'll rewatch it. So I did a couple of weeks ago, and I really enjoyed this film as well. It's obviously about an outbreak of like a kind of disease that's been spread by this monkey, kind of more relevant today, I guess, after COVID and things like that have happened, to see a film like this. But it's actually a very entertaining kind of thriller film as well. And I guess there's been not too many movies like it, but there was Contagion, which came out a while back now as well. But I think I enjoyed this film more than that one. It's got great performances from Dustin Hoffman, Samuel L. Jackson, Rene Russo, and a few others. But yeah, I really enjoyed that movie quite a bit. It's definitely a solid B-tier film. So Four Against the Bank is the most recent film from Wolfgang Petersen. He kind of had like a 10-year hiatus after Poseidon because that film tanked, and he had to come back to Germany. And he ended up making this film a whole 10 years later in 2016. And the film, I don't think, did very well. And so unfortunately, it was his last movie, and it kind of ended his career on a low note as far as that goes, and he didn't make any more films until his passing, which is pretty sad. But the movie is the latest one I've seen from him. I watched it a couple nights ago, and it's just kind of like a silly comedy, like about these four guys who have been kind of screwed over by their bank, and they team up together to take down the bank and steal some money. But it's a very childish kind of outlook on that story. Like, it's not like a high concept bank robbery film at all. These people are pretty dumb and stupid and just kind of willing to do the most basic kind of bank robbery, not even thinking about long-term consequences and things like that. But it was kind of funny just to see it from that point of view. And as I said, this was a German film as well, so it's in German, it's subtitled and all that. But there are some pretty famous actors in it who have gone on to be in Hollywood films now. But for what it was okay. I enjoyed it while I was watching it, but I probably wouldn't watch it again. So I'll put it in the C tier. It was probably definitely one of his weakest films, if not his weakest. But as I said, I enjoyed it while I watched it. It's good for a one-time watch, but other than that, it's just kind of average. So going from that to his first film, which is back to his German roots here with Das Boot, or The Boat, which is a very famous submarine war film. It's kind of the go-to submarine film that everyone talks about when you're talking about these genre films, and it's really good. I watched the director's cut a few weeks ago, which is 3.5 hours long. So it is a long film. It's in German as well, so it's subtitled. But to be honest, I loved this film. I thought it was excellent. It was super intense. You're just with these people stuck in this ship, and it's really intense when you're just hearing noises like the radar pinging and the missiles underwater and things like that, explosions. And just the way that it handles it is really cool and really tense, especially later on in the film when the ship starts to sink and you have like, you pretty much no hope for these people of ever being saved. But yeah, it's a really good movie. I think it's a little boring in places, but I think that's what they said they were going for as well, because it's trying to capture life on a submarine. So it's not always fun and games and adventure and all that. It's boring a lot of the time because you're not seeing action and things like that. But for a 3.5 hour German film from 1981, like, it's pretty entertaining and pretty great. So for this list, I'll put it up in the S tier because it's pretty much perfect for the kind of genre film that it is. And I really enjoy these type of submarine films as well that I've been watching over the past few years, like Crimson Tide and K-19, The Widowmaker. But yeah, Das Boot is definitely one of the most famous ones, and it's really good. Kind of, I guess, is the reason why he was able to go straight over to America and start making films after that. So next we have In the Line of Fire. This is a pretty good action thriller from the early 90s starring Clint Eastwood, where he's like a security guard to the president, and it's a really good thriller. It's got a great performance from him as well as from John Malkovich, who plays the villain. It was just a really interesting and engaging action thriller film. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It's definitely up high in the B tier, I'd say, probably above Outbreak. It was quite a good film, very entertaining. Enjoyed it quite a bit. Next is Air Force One. This is another 90s classic film. It stars Harrison Ford, and believe it or not, I hadn't actually seen this film until like a week ago. I really like Harrison Ford. He's one of my favorite actors, but yeah, I hadn't seen this movie. I'd only ever heard about it and heard the famous lines and things like that. But yeah, him facing off against Gary Oldman, he being the president and Gary Oldman a terrorist who's boarded his plane. It was just a fun and entertaining kind of throwaway film. Like, it was good, but again, it was probably just another B tier film. I'll put it below those two. But yeah, I did enjoy it. It was a good movie. Next we have Enemy Mine. This is another one he did in the 80s. I believe he did this one straight after Neverending Story. And this is a different kind of movie. It's a sci-fi. It's about two opposing forces. So you've got humans and you've got these other creatures. I can't remember what they're called now, but they hate each other pretty much. And then one human and one of these creatures ends up crash landing on this unknown planet together. So they have to learn to become friends and survive and things like that. So it's a story of survival and friendship and adventure. And it was pretty good. I enjoyed the film, probably a bit more than I thought I was going to. I'd say it's another solid B tier film. It's an early performance from Dennis Quaid. So I don't know if I'd seen too many films of his around this era, but it was kind of cool to see him in his earlier years doing a fun sci-fi family kind of film like this. But yeah, again, it's different from anything else that Wolfgang Petersen has done, which, as you look at his entire filmography, it's pretty cool because you can see he's pretty much dipped his hand into every genre. You've got, like, war films, a few films out in the ocean, fantasy movies, sci-fi, action, thriller, everything, and comedy and all that. So he's pretty much tapped into everything, which is what I like in a director, when they're able to kind of go against their mold and just be a bit of a chameleon and try everything. So next we have The Perfect Storm. This is one of the ones that I'd seen a long time ago and kind of forgotten about. And I rewatched it a few weeks ago, and I actually really liked it. Like, the atmosphere of it's really cool. The characters were great. The visual effects probably don't hold up as well now, being a film from 2000, but I still really was invested in the film, especially the second half of the movie when the storm really hits. And you've got all these people out on this boat just trying to survive and make it back home, but there's this huge storm and these massive waves and lightning and thunder and everything going on, and it's just a really intense film. And even though a lot of it, I think, was filmed like on sound stages in giant tanks, like, it just has this kind of cool atmosphere and look to it, even though it's not completely real. But yeah, it stars George Clooney, John C. Reilly, Mark Wahlberg. You've got a great cast here and really entertaining film. I think it's based on a true story even, which makes it even more intense. But yeah, it's a wild film and I really enjoyed it quite a lot. I'm going to put it probably at the top of the B tier. It's almost an A tier film, to be honest, for me, because I really enjoyed it quite a lot. Look, I might just do it. I'll put it in the A tier. I'll put it below Neverending Story, though. Next we have Shattered. So this is more of just a straightforward psychological thriller film. So he hadn't really done just a straightforward thriller. I guess Air Force One's like an action thriller, and so is In the Line of Fire, but this is more of just a thriller. You've got Tom Berenger here, as well as Bob Hoskins, I think his name is. And they did really good in the film. I enjoyed this movie quite a bit. I know it's not as well known or as popular as some of his other films, but it's actually a pretty good mystery thriller film, and it has a really good twist at the end that you don't really see coming. And it's quite a wild twist, like it's a big one. And I guess it will kind of work or won't work for you, depending on how invested you are in the film, because it might just make it seem silly. But like, it worked for me. I thought it was good. I didn't see it coming. But again, yeah, it's probably just another B tier film. I'll put it in the middle though, because I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. So next we have Poseidon. This is the last Hollywood film he did in 2006, and it's the one that tanked his career, and he wasn't able to make another film for 10 years, and then he made that small German film after this. But I find it kind of silly that he was able to make all these successful Hollywood films in a row, but then it was only one film that kind of ended that for him, which is unfortunate. So this is another water film, like Perfect Storm and Das Boot, but very different. It's about a cruise ship that gets hit by a rogue wave and capsizes, and then there's a group of people on the ship that are trying to make it to the bow and escape before the ship sinks. And it's quite a good and intense film. Even though it was unsuccessful, I actually enjoyed the movie quite a bit for what it was. You got Kurt Russell was the lead of the film, and that's always good. So yeah, I actually enjoyed the movie. I think it's another solid B tier film. Yeah, I'll put it around the middle of there as well, because yeah, I don't understand. I guess, I don't know, maybe people just weren't into it when it came out, but I thought it was pretty decent for what it was. Again, it's not a great film by any means, but it was very good. I enjoyed it. So last but not least, we have Troy. This is one of the only ones I'd seen prior to rewatching his films, and I haven't actually rewatched this one, but I did see it for the first time only a couple of years ago. And I've got it on Blu-ray, the director's cut, which is like another 3.5 hour long movie. But this is a really big, epic kind of sword and sandal film, the ones I kind of really like Gladiator and Kingdom of Heaven and Alexander and all that. And this is one of the better ones. I remember really loving this film. Brad Pitt was great. Eric Bana was great. You've got Orlando Bloom as well. And it's just a big, epic scope kind of film. Like, it feels huge. You've got a great cast. You've got great settings, big, epic war sequences. It's super engaging and entertaining and fun. It's an adventure film and an action film. And for me, it succeeded on pretty much every level. Even being a 3.5 hour film, like, I wasn't bored at all. For me, this is my favorite personal film from this director, so I'm going to put it up in the S tier, even above Das Boot, which most people wouldn't do. Most people have Das Boot as his best film, but as I said, for me it was a little bit boring at times, so I'm going to have Troy up in the top spot. So that's all 11 of his films, from Das Boot to Four Against the Bank, so he's done 11 there. He's a really underrated director, I think. Like, people know his films, or some of his films, but not him personally as a director. So I think it would be good to check out his filmography, or more of it if you haven't seen it, because he's got just such a wide array of films. And I really enjoyed kind of going through these movies over the last couple of weeks. As I said, I enjoyed pretty much all of them, even the film at the bottom. Like, I enjoyed it while I was watching it. But yeah, so he's a good director, great range of films and different genres. So please check him out, and subscribe to my channel for more videos. See ya.